21st Global FinTech Fest, organized by FinTech Convergence Council and Payment Council of India, of Internet and Mobile Association of India, and National Payment Corporation of India. The fest is presented by the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, Government of India, Reserve Bank of India, and supported by Niti Aayog, Startup India, and Invest India. We would like to thank our partners, supported partners CBK, and institutional partner RBIH, the World Bank, and UNCDF. Our next session is a product showcase, UK Sandbox Showcase. Without further ado, let me introduce our esteemed panelists. We have with us today Ms. Heather Wilson, a Senior Innovation Policy Advisor, City of London Corporation, and Ms. Mary Cale, Head of Financial and Professional Services Technology, City of London Corporation. Delegates are requested to please post their questions on Q&A window, and we shall answer them. Over to you, Mary. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I hope everyone can hear me all right. As mentioned, my name is Mary Kyle. I'm Head of Financial and Professional Services Technology at the City of London Corporation. Our interest is really in what we can do to try and smooth the integration of technology into financial and professional services to make sure that they're fit for future. And today, what we're going to talk to you about is the Digital Sandbox, which is a project that we are partnering with the Financial Conduct Authority on. I am going to attempt to share some slides, so if you just give me a moment. There we go. Hopefully you can all see that. So I'll start ahead. As mentioned, if you do have any questions that come up during the course of the presentation, please do put them in the Q&A box on the side and we will answer them at the end. So the Digital Sandbox, first of all, what is it? As I've mentioned, this is a partnership that the City of London Corporation is running with the Financial Conduct Authority. And it's something that we're both really interested in terms of trying to increase the adoption of technology by financial and professional services. And importantly, trying to get financial institutions and technology companies starting to work more together and less in their own independent silos. This is the first of its kind in Europe, and it's part of the recommendations that came out of the Khalifa Review into UK FinTech, which focus specifically on how we can help companies to scale and grow. And it's also received really positive feedback from the Prime Minister's Build Back Better strategy and from the Chancellor. Why is the sandbox important? Well, one of the things that we talk to when we're speaking to technology companies who are trying to innovate is that they often face a really difficult problem accessing high quality data sets, whether that's real data or high quality synthetic data. There's also a real issue in terms of trying to get the general ecosystem working together. So that's with the technology companies who are producing solutions, trying to get the input they need from the market that they're selling into, or from investors, or even from other professional services or other services such as legal firms. Another issue that we've encountered is understanding the real market need. We see a lot of tech solutions coming through that look really good on the surface and have a lot of sort of capabilities, but they're not actually addressing a specific market need. And so when it comes to the time when they try to sell those solutions to market, they hit a barrier. So what is the sandbox? Well, as I've already mentioned, part of what the sandbox offers is access to high quality data sets. But for all intents and purposes, the sandbox is a virtual platform that we have licensed and built out to provide a number of features to those who come into it. And that's both those who come in with technology solutions that they want to advance, but also those who are in the wider sandbox ecosystem. Now, the high quality data sets, the idea of that is that we can help companies to advance their products by giving them access to those. We also provide them with an integrated development environment where they can have access to, if you like, a software development toolkit that they can use to help build out their product. We also have an application programming interface marketplace. This is all about interoperability, making sure that the solutions that are coming into the sandbox can operate with existing functions and applications, whether they're from financial institutions or other companies who are willing to give up their APIs and put them into the marketplace that we have. Now, as I've already said, a key part of what the sandbox offers is collaboration. And so it's not just about helping those teams that come into the sandbox, but it's also in terms of building out a really broad ecosystem. And that's in terms of making sure that we have a really good mixture of companies and individuals who have access to it, so that they can collaborate with the teams that are coming through. And they collaborate via the platform itself and also have access to an observation deck where they can see what's coming through in terms of solutions and the kind of teams and innovations that are being developed within the sandbox. We originally ran a pilot of the sandbox just over a year ago, where we looked at trying to help firms develop solutions that specifically responded to issues that had been exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic. We focused on 3 use cases: detecting and preventing fraud and scams, supporting the financial resilience of vulnerable consumers, and improving access to finance for SMEs. So how did the sandbox pilot actually work? We basically set out those 3 challenges and said to firms, if you have a solution that you think addresses these, then please apply to come into the sandbox. We received over 90 applications from a real range of firms, some household names who were developing new solutions, and some very early startups who were just at the proof of concept stage in terms of thinking about what they might be able to develop that went to some of these challenges. We ended up selecting 28 teams to come into the sandbox across the 3 different subject areas, and we helped them develop their products over the course of a couple of months while they had access to all of the sandbox features. I'm really pleased to say that we saw a lot of positive outcomes from the pilot. 84% of those who were in the sandbox said that they accelerated their product development as a result. And that was anywhere between 3 to 18 months acceleration just by being in the sandbox for that short period of time. We also had really good engagement from the wider ecosystem. As it says on the slide, we had over 800 people register to be part of the sandbox environment. And that meant that they could chat to those teams coming in, they could chat to each other. They could also attend workshops, they could attend final demo days to see how the products are developed as a result of being in the sandbox. And out of those 800 registered users, we had 88 of them actually register specifically to be mentors to the teams coming into the sandbox. And again, that was something that we received feedback on as being a real positive and benefit to the teams that were coming through, who had the opportunity then to hear from those within the market and across the ecosystem about how they might be able to develop their product better and more quickly. Another thing that we were very keen to score from the pilot was the utility of the data. Now, that scored just over 5 out of 10, which in some respects might look very high, but given that this was a data set that had been created purely from synthetic sources, we were really pleased with the level of use that the participants got out of it. What was really exciting as well was to see the participants work together to continue to build out that data set. And they did that so that it became better and better as time went on with the pilot. Now, it was a pilot for a reason, and that was because we wanted to see what lessons we could learn, take forward into any next phases of the sandbox. And we came out with 6 really important ones. One was that a narrow use case might be better for sourcing data and creating a more tight-knit community. Now, as you probably recall, the 3 use cases that we put forward in the pilot were extremely broad, and that meant that we had a really broad mix of solutions coming in. One of the things that we said we wanted to do was actually focus more on specific problem statements to solve going forward. Data was seen as really valuable. There's always the question over how far does synthetic data take you, and to what extent can it really be a substitute for real data. But we did get very good feedback from the early stage tech firms in particular that having access to that data was extremely valuable. One thing that we did think about on the data was the building in time so that we could have better data generation. That process that happened during the life of the pilot of improving the data set was something we realized we could have done earlier on so that everybody had the benefit of that improved data set rather than just a select number of teams. We also saw that participants were looking for more help, more guidance on how to use the platform, which is an easy fix in terms of trying to help them work through their journey. Collaboration tools were something that we realized we wanted to try and boost more, and that went hand in hand almost with increasing the substantive engagement. We ran a couple of workshops with the pilot participants where they got a chance to interact directly with some members of the Sandbox ecosystem, and that was seen as really valuable. So something that we decided we wanted to build out on in the second iteration of the Sandbox. I'm now going to pass over to my colleague Heather, who's going to talk more about what's coming next.
Perfect. Thank you, Mary. Hi, everyone. I'm Heather Wilson. I'm a Senior Policy Advisor in Mary's team at the City of London Corporation and have been working with her and the FCA on the Digital Sandbox. So what's next? We've done the pilot, so what are we going to do next? So we at the City of London Corporation and the FCA have decided that we're going to actually expand the platform this year and carry out a series of different types of activity. This includes the sustainability cohort, tech sprints, and a series of innovation challenges as well. So the purpose of this really is to allow us to test the sandbox as a hub with multifunctional use. And we think this will allow us to drive market engagement in a variety of ways and also to foster industry collaboration that delivers useful tech products in an accelerated timeframe. And kind of the other driver for testing different types of activity on the platform is because we really want to explore and test what a permanent digital sandbox could look like. So if we go to the next slide, Mary. So the Sustainable Finance Cohort really is our flagship programme this year. And as Mary has said, one of the key lessons learned from the pilot was that tighter use cases would allow the sandbox to have better quality data and a more engaged ecosystem. And so for this reason, really, we spent quite a few months from the beginning of the year working with the industry to select our final use cases. So they actually gave us 156 different use cases the sandbox could focus on within kind of the sustainability theme. And we have thankfully been able to narrow this down to 3. So if we go to the next slide, you'll be able to see on the screen that these are our 3 use cases. And we think that they will encourage solutions into the sandbox which cater for not only retail consumers, but also supporting our financial services sector to better understand the ESG credentials of its investment portfolios. So applications to join the sandbox are now open and they'll close on the 11th of October. So if we go to the next slide, eligibility criteria. So applications will be assessed against our eligibility criteria, which you will hopefully see on your screen. This might sound obvious, but they will need to be genuinely innovative. The solutions will need to be sufficiently different from what already exists on the market. They will also need to benefit UK consumers or financial services firms by solving one of our 3 use cases. The applications will also need to demonstrate why the features of the sandbox will support with product development. Need to be able to prove why the sandbox environment will help accelerate your product and your solution. And finally, they will need a credible testing plan. So within the application, we'll need to see a good testing plan for the lifetime of the pilot. So if we go to the next slide, how do you get involved? So if you have an early stage tech product that you think addresses one of the use cases that you've seen, we'd love to receive an application from you. But if you don't have a tech solution or you're not a technologist, that's absolutely fine. We want many different types of people and expertise to be part of our digital sandbox community. We're looking for mentors, we're looking for data scientists to support the sustainability cohort. And we're also looking for those with a general interest in the programme and who are keen to learn more to register to the platform. So if we go to the next slide, you'll be able to see kind of the key link. This first link or first URL is where you can submit your application or sign up as a mentor or general user. But you can also read our lessons learned report or watch last year's Digital Sandbox pilot final demo to see the types of solutions that the pilot produced. I think the final thing that I would say actually is that we're not just looking for those from the UK ecosystem to join the sandbox. We really want kind of a wide and diverse group to be part of the sandbox environment. So whether you're from the UK or from elsewhere, we'd love you to join or submit an application. So I think that's probably it in terms of our presentation, but perhaps if there's any questions from the audience, we can spend the rest of the time taking those.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Heather. And I think Heather's made a really good point there at the end, that this is not just for UK firms. I suppose, why would we be here? It's really about looking to try and bring together innovative solutions from across the globe and see how we can all work together. There's a real interest here at the moment around ESG data and disclosure. We've been working on it in other facets for quite some time now and looking at the intersection of technology with it. So I'm conscious that there's a really interesting sort of hubbub of technology solutions coming through in this area. But we picked on these 3 specific use cases just because they really seem to speak to the financial services community in particular as something that needed to be progressed. And so we're just keeping an eye on that and very excited to start seeing applications coming through. No, I can't see any questions at the moment. So I don't know. The only other thing I would say is if you are interested in seeing any of the links or having access to any of the further information, then we can certainly find a way, I think, of posting those in a chat box or putting them out to you, because I realise as well there's a lot of information, so it might be good for those watching to go and have a look at it in your own time. And I know that we've put in the email address to get in touch with us if there's anything else you'd like to share. Thanks, Heather. That's really helpful. You've put in that one there. But no, subject to that, I'm very happy to hand back to the organisers in the absence of further thoughts. How can India? There you go. We've got a question. How can Indian startups make use of the sandbox? Basically, by applying. I mean, what we do say is that we're looking for products that might have an impact on or be launched in the UK. So if you are an Indian startup, there's nothing to stop you applying to come into the sandbox, so long as there is a UK link of some sort to the product that you're looking to develop that could be for the market over here. And, as I think Heather said, the process is relatively straightforward. We ask that you fill in the application form online, basic company details in the first part, how large are you, how many of you would need to access the sandbox. Then we're looking to find out more about your solution. So it's all about, okay, well, first of all, which use case are you responding to? And that's really important. Going back to my original point about there needing to be a market need for solutions, we've picked these specific use cases because we know there is a market need for them. So it's really important for any applications coming through that they do address those problem statements clearly, because that's a large part of what we're trying to do with the sandbox. There's also questions there about, okay, well, how is your solution different to other things that might already be on the market? But nothing I think you wouldn't be used to if you're at a startup putting forward your ideas. The third part of the application focuses very much around that testing plan. How are you going to make use of the features of the sandbox? What do you think you can achieve? The sandbox itself will be open for a couple of months, so we don't necessarily want products coming in that have a sort of 6 to 12 month timescale in place. We're really looking for solutions that can make good progress and develop during the timescale that we're providing and using the features that are on offer. So those are the 3 parts of the application process. We have a really strong group of experts who are helping us sift through the applications, and we're working with them at the moment to look through the ones that we're already receiving with a view to then announcing successful applicants at COP at the beginning of November. Any other questions? Can't see anything further coming through. Heather, was there anything else that you wanted to add? I think you've covered.
I don't think so. I think that's probably everything.
Perfect. Well, as I say, do feel free to reach out to us separately from this platform, and we'll be delighted to speak to anyone. And as Heather said, it's as much as about bringing in mentors and those with a view and general interest in this area as anything else. So please do feel free to get in touch. And other than that, I'll hand back over to the organisers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Heather, for a very insightful session. So, hoping to, that people come back again with a lot of questions and queries for the same product. So, thank you so much. Thank you to all the delegates for being a part of this session. Looking forward for further. Thank you.
Thank you.